Caracol and her cub live in the Etosha Reserve, in the middle of a vast sunny and windy wild grassland. The mother lynx has a strong body, sharp eyes, but is always gentle when with her cubs. The young caracol is a shaggy, pointed lynx with tufts of black hair standing upright, characteristic of the caracal species. They depend on each other to hunt, avoid wild animals, and learn survival skills every day. Etosha, with its golden sunshine, burnt grass, and rows of acacia trees, is a peaceful world for a mother and her child lynx. One morning, the mother lynx caught the scent of wild rabbits wafting around the southern grasslands. She and her child quietly followed the trail, walking slowly among the dry grass and low bushes. The cunning rabbit detected the movement and immediately shot off towards the distant trees. The lynx eagerly followed, running faster than its mother, never taking its eyes off the white tail ahead. The rabbit ran through a path through the bushes leading into the soggy marshes to the west. The mother lynx stopped wearily, but the baby lynx charged after her without hesitation. In just a moment of carelessness, the lynx stepped on the soft mud and fell straight into the flooded water hole. It struggled, the murky water surged up, the sticky mud pulled tightly on its limbs, causing its body to gradually sink. A panic cry for help rang out, tearing through the quiet of the morning grassland. The mother lynx ran to the water's edge, watching in horror as her baby floundered in the glistening mud. She growled helplessly, took a few steps forward, and had to retreat because the mud was sinking too dangerously. It circled around the edge of the lagoon, looking for a way down without drowning itself. More the lynx struggled, the deeper it sank, its claws sliding on the slippery, muddy water. The mother lynx screeched in despair, her ears pricked up, her whole body trembling at the prospect of losing her child. With no other choice, it decided to leave, rushing into the woods to find help. The mother lynx crossed the acacia bushes, jumped over the dry cracks, rushed toward the sound of the car engine. A ranger patrols the red, dusty trail at noon. The mother lynx suddenly rushed out, blocking the front of the car, causing the wheels to stop in a cloud of dust. The driver was Isla Greenfield, dedicated young ranger working in the Etosha Reserve. Isla braked hard. Before she could regain her composure, the lynx had already come up to the window, its paws resting on the car. The animal's eyes seemed to speak, urgent, panicked, completely devoid of any threat. The girl opened the car door a little, hesitant, but instinct told her that this was a life-saving call. The mother lynx immediately turned around and rushed towards the swamp, constantly looking back to check. Isla did not hesitate, grabbed the first aid kit, grabbed the net, and ran after the strange animal. Under the hot sun, she walked through tall grass and slippery paths, her heels smeared with red mud. Finally, she reached the edge of the lagoon and was shocked to see a nearly exhausted lynx. The little animal still struggled in the thick water, eyes wide open, mouth open, screaming miserably. The mother lynx stood by, her eyes dilated, looking at Isla repeatedly with a desperate, pleading look. Without a second's hesitation, Isla knelt down, opened her first aid kit, and pulled out her emergency folding racket. She took a deep breath, put her feet in the water, and slowly walked towards the animal that was sinking in despair. The thick, muddy water made Isla's every step slow and difficult. She held the long net steady in her hand, gently reaching out towards the lens. The lynx saw the strange object, pause for a moment, then tried to move towards Isla. Isla steadied herself and took a few steps, listening to the pounding of her heart. The net touched the animal, and she carefully slid the net under the mud-soaked belly of the lynx. A low groan rang out as weak claws clawed at the edge of the net in despair. She gently lifted the racket, pulling it back step by step out of the swamp, as if she was lifting a fragile life. The mother lynx followed close to the shore, meowing softly, as if to encourage her little one. Mud weighed down Isla's skirts and legs, but she struggled to pull the animal ashore. Finally, she placed the lynx cub on its side on a white sheet placed at the water's edge. His whole body was shaking, his ears were wet, his breathing was rapid and labored. She knelt down, her muddy hand lightly touching the animal's chest to check its breathing. Isla's eyes filled with tears, her lips pressed together to keep calm in the fragile moment of life and death. Beside her, the mother lynx sat waiting, no longer ferocious, just a mother worried to the point core. The girl opened her medical bag, preparing for first aid, as the sunlight slanted past her shoulder and shone down on her determined face. Isla pulled out a soft cloth and began wiping away the thick layer of mud that had accumulated on the lynx's face and head. Every movement was gentle, precise, as if she had done this 100 times before. The lynx struggled at first, but then lay still, its eyes closing from exhaustion. She dried each leg, each trembling little claw, then used a blanket to keep the animal warm. A red, swollen wound was visible on his right leg where the skin had been torn and mud had seeped in. Isla disinfected the wound with an antibacterial solution, placed white gauze on it, and carefully bandaged it. The mother lynx moved closer, bowed her head to sniff her baby, then sat down next to Isla without hesitation. The girl smiled quietly, her eyes still filled with tears, but her gaze filled with hope and reassurance. The lynx cub opened its eyes and looked at Isla, an innocent look that made her heart clench with emotion. She stroked the animal's forehead gently and folded the blanket, creating a warm nest at the edge of the pond. The afternoon wind blew, gently making her hair fly across her face, the smell of earth and mud still lingering on her sleeves. She sat quietly beside mother and child, saying nothing, just listening to their breathing and recovering heartbeat. After a few minutes, baby lynx raised its head, looked at its mother, and let out a groan. Weak, small cry. Isla carefully lifted its head, placing a towel underneath to keep its body from getting cold again. She breathed a sigh of relief. The lynx was out of danger. Isla stood up, returned to the car, and pulled out a stainless steel tray of fresh red meat still chilled in the cooler. She placed the tray of meat between mother and child and stepped back, waiting for their reaction. The mother lynx stepped forward, sniffed, then turned to her child as if asking for permission before eating. The lynx slowly walked over its legs, still weak but its eyes already shining with life. The two began to eat carefully, savoring each bite but never taking their eyes off. Isla, standing a few feet away, she sat down, crossed her arms over her chest, sighed and smiled as she saw the two lives gradually recovering. The wind was calmer. Sun was softer, casting shadows on the touching scene in the pairs. Middle of the wilderness, Isla got some water, wiped her face, and packed up the first aid kit, her eyes still following them. She stepped closer, bowing slightly as if in a sincere farewell. The mother lynx looked up, her eyes sparkling as if she understood the heart of the woman before her. Isa turned and walked away, leaving behind the lynx mother and child's eyes. She knew she had done something worthwhile, a small life saved in the wild. The car slowly rolled towards the sun, disappearing behind the sparse acacia trees. The mother and daughter lynx stood side by side, their shadows long on the golden silent land of Itoya. Amidst the vast wind and grass, that story will remain forever about courage and wordless love. What do you think about this story? Please leave your comments in the comments section.